What's up, guys? Maximus G here. Yay, yay, yay! I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts and impressions here about MXM, Master versus Master, this new crazy game that we got thrown our way from Ensoft here. So, what is it? How is it? What's it like? Is it worth playing? Let me tell you all about it, what I've done so far. So I've gotten up to level 81. The maximum level that I gather from what I've seen is 99. I've seen some of the Ensoft employees run around there level 99, and I'm level 81, so I reckon that's where it stops. But leveling up basically just gets you, like, you know, more gold, more rewards. You're gonna get, it's like completing an achievement, and each level or each 5 levels you're gonna get a certain type of reward, either gold or some solid or some soul fiber pieces or something like that. So leveling up, it'll probably also unlock some other, you know, areas and difficulties that you guys haven't played before. If you're just starting out, some things will be locked until you run through them the first time. But getting through almost everything the first time on like normal or easy mode is going to be really easy for even casual or new players to this sort of system. So let's go over this. It's basically, yeah, like an action MMO, say like Diablo 3, alright, or Path of Exile, and then it's also a MOBA, you know, like League of Legends or Dota or Heroes of the Storm. It's put into one, alright, and that's really interesting because you've got two of some of my favorite kinds of games kind of put into one, and you know, the addiction from both of them is real, not gonna lie. You know, if you guys spend lots of time grinding out Paragons and Diablo, or if you guys just are, you know, you get really into the MOBA scene, you get really competitive trying to climb your way up the ranking ladders, I mean, both of those, you know, both of those fields of gameplay can be really addicting. So it's cool that they've kind of put those both into one. You've got a huge lineup, pretty much, in Alpha already, you've got a pretty decent lineup of masters to choose from. And they each got, you know, different skills that you can choose. So you can bring a Q, an E, and an ultimate. You're gonna have some passive skills and survival skills, things that just work, you know, specifically with each master. You can hit, like, they have different tabs here to display their information about, you know, what type of attunement they are for damage. Like what type, how much weapon damage they're dealing. So this would basically be like your auto attack, like your basic left click damage. Skill power, this is like your ability power, like using your Q and your E and your R, you know, how much ability power, you know, is going to come out of using your powers and stuff like that versus just your auto attack from your weapon. And it gives you a bit of a rating of survivability and how difficult that master is to control, and of course the playstyle, assault. So it'll give you, this one is assault, this one is assassin, you've also got marksman, you've got support, and you've got juggernauts, and there's also skirmishers and summoners. I think that pretty much covers the different playstyle classes. But yes, and right, there's 3 different attunements. So there's kinetic, there's helix, and then there is ardent. So this will start to play, you know, into hand later on as you guys get more into the game and start to upgrade your skills a bit better. You will start to think at first that these attunements don't mean anything, but later on as you get through into the PvE, you'll start to notice more and more the importance of, you know, matching up certain attunements versus other attunements. So how this works is there is a tree system. Okay, it is a 3 tree system. So ardent are going to be effective against helix mobs, and helix mobs are going to be effective against kinetic mobs, and kinetic mobs are going to be effective against ardent mobs, and it goes basically in a triangle tree like that. So what types of things do you get? So if you'll see here, if you hit the details, it'll show you like the health, tag out healing, their defense and all that stuff. But right here, attunement damage. So everybody has a base attunement damage of an extra 115%. So you're going to get an extra 15% extra damage against mobs using this type of damage. Okay, so if I use ardent damage against Helix mobs, I'm going to be getting an extra 15% base damage to them. So if you think about that, that's perfect. So I want to match up my Ardent against those, but you definitely don't want to match up the Helix mobs against kinetic mobs, because if you pick a kinetic master versus Helix ones, well, those guys are going to deal 15% more damage to you. The mobs will deal 15% more damage to you, and they will also be resistant to your attacks. So if you're the weak element, then you are taking more damage, and the one that's dealing more damage to you is resistant to your attacks. So for PvE and PvP, that's where it starts to be more important, planning out your attunements. So you want to use red against green, green against blue, blue against red, basically. So not all the time is this going to be, the main factor. Just because you get a higher damage boost doesn't mean that you can't necessarily kill them with someone who was, say, of equal attunement, like an Ardent versus Ardent. You could still deal roughly, you would have a 100%, it would just be standard damage for that. So you wouldn't have a multiplier of extra damage, you wouldn't be taking more damage from them, or they won't be resistant, it'll just be a flat. So you can do that. And there's still some champions, some masters that are going to deal, high enough damage that you can still win. You can still be successful even if you're not always matching them up. But later on in the higher difficulties of PvE is where it will matter the most, because you will start to see a dramatic difference as you go through the stages. So you go through easy, and then normal, and then brutal, and then extreme, and then nightmare. So as you get up into these harder ones up in here, by the time you're hitting brutal or extreme, you'll start to notice the importance more of matching up the attunements for the mobs that you're fighting. You'll see a dramatic difference in how much damage you deal and how much damage they deal to you when you do it right versus when you do it wrong. Okay? So this is also, there's different modes here. So the normal modes are going to give you certain types of loot. Easy and normal can be run through with 1 to 2 Easy is 1 to player only. Normal can be done with 1 to 2 players, so you can invite somebody else for normal, but this is fairly easy to solo. Okay, so most players are going to be able to solo these normal levels fairly easily off the bat. These brutal levels, you're going to be able to get through some of them, but others are going to seem like a bit of a challenge to get through with getting, a decent rank. And that's going to be because of the nodes that you're using. So nodes are kind of like rooms, if you think of it, really. And each hero has a certain combination of nodes that they need to use in order to maximize the node efficiency. So you've got Lua here needs, 2 red, 2 blue, 2 yellow, or basically 2 attack, 2 defense, and 2 auxiliary nodes. And using that combination, they're all 100% effective. Right on. Now if I go stacking in more attack nodes and just basically fill that all the way out, it'll reduce this efficiency and reduce the effectiveness of the nodes I'm taking. So eventually, if you get this below, 89% or down into the 70s or 60s percentages, you're basically, making things worse than if you were to do it right with proper colors and proper nodes. So you don't always need to have this matched up to 100 perfectly all the time for every hero that you're doing, but the closer that is to 100, the more effectiveness that you're going to get out of your nodes when you're using them. Now you also might notice too that sometimes when you start playing, you've got node energy here, and this node energy will be used up when you're using them in either PvP or in ranked arena. In PvE or in ranked arenas, not in standard PvP like Titan Ruins or things like that. Only in ranked. But look at the very bottom here on the nodes. It says defense, skill penetration, node charge decrease 0. So you've got regular nodes of gray quality. Green quality nodes like this also use node charge decrease 0. Blue quality ones, node charge decrease 0. Then you get into the purples. Okay, node charge decrease 28. So this one here will actually use up a charge. So basically it's only the purple ones and then the legendary nodes, like some of these. This one uses up 32. So I've got this one's 32, this one's 28, this one's 32. So you see the different node charge decreases for them. This one here is 28, 32. So they have a set amount, right? But only using these purple quality or legendary nodes is going to actually decrease the charge, because they're the only ones powerful enough to actually soak up a charge. So your regular nodes that you start with are not going to take up power, and you can use them over and over again, and you're not going to have to recharge them with your gold. But once you start getting better nodes like these epic and these legendary nodes, they will eat up a charge, and then you can basically just click this, recharge it with gold, and it's not even that expensive at all. Like, these things are going to get several runs out of them. You're going to make, 10 times the amount of gold you need to recharge it by the time they're used up. So you should be able to fund recharging them, and there's really not any reason to not like keep charging them. You'll make enough to keep those charged once you get them, so that's alright. Cool. So you see, you want to match these up. And each hero has their own different combinations. So Suzuka here wants 4 attack, 1 defense, 1 auxiliary. So this is where planning out your node combinations and your attunement choices, this is going to start to separate the boys from the men. In the beginning, it's going to seem like, it doesn't really matter what you throw in. Nothing really seems to make too much of a difference, but once you get into the brutal and then the extreme levels of PvE, and also in PvP, you'll see the difference of speccing up your points. Speccing up your skills here and leveling up these skills is going to give you things like more skill power, reduced cool time on them. So just unlocking the heroes or the masters is one thing, playing through them with some missions, okay. And then if you start getting into the PvE missions, leveling up these skills is going to get you through them a lot better, a lot faster, nodes or not. And then also things, you've got the weapon skills, you've got the nodes, and then you've got weapon. So your weapon here, if you put your mouse over it, it'll tell you basically what kind of stats it has and what kinds of things it does build up and everything, if it does any special effects to it. And then you've got, each master has 3 different say things here you can enhance otherwise as passives. And so for this one, I've got weapon damage, range, or overheat reduction. Overheat reduction is basically your auto attack. When you're attacking, you can't just spam down your auto attack with your left click, and eventually you're gonna build up too much heat and it'll have to cool down. So this, what that does is that resets the or it lowers the heat buildup on your auto attack so that you can spam your auto attack for longer. Alright, and getting through these and upgrading these is going to require getting, some materials, stuff like this. So you'll start off with some of these and you'll be able to upgrade the first, levels and stuff like that. And then you're going to need some more materials from some higher missions. See, this can be found at all stages. This can be found from this certain area. Okay, so you can upgrade. You got choices to upgrade these and these. You got choices to upgrade your skills and choose what you want to bring. You got options for nodes. It's also handy to be able to have several different node pages for different combinations, right? So depending on which master hero combinations you're going to be bringing. Also, if I didn't mention, yeah, you get to bring 2 masters into every PvE or PvP game that you play. It's not just pick one, play one at a time. You actually play 2 at a time. So if I pick up a mission here and I go to the stage, so then I can queue up specifically for a certain level, a certain area of a certain level that I'm trying to beat for certain materials or for a certain achievement or grade with a special dispatch ticket that you guys will get periodically for leveling in, for logging in, and also each week you get some, and I think each day you get a couple more as well. Leveling up your VIP, you'll get extra ones as well. And so that'll let you go to certain specific levels to get specific things that you're trying to get, materials or upgrade stuff like this. and if you've basically gotten through enough of them, then you can just random and pick the difficulty and do as many of these as you want. But it's going to be a random level and a random stage of the level. It could be any one of the 4 stages of any one of these different levels. So, and they all you know, are basically, for this one I would want to be using Helix mobs. Same thing for that one. This one I would want to be using the kinetic mobs, and for this I would want to be using the ardent mobs. So, and you got different choices here. So that's the PvE stuff. It goes all the way up to nightmare difficulty. So doing these ones doesn't cost anything to queue up for it. To do these ones here, if you cancel it, you'll get your money back, but it's 500 gold to just do an extreme, to dispatch. And for this one, it takes 1,000 gold and 1 Solin to do a nightmare run. Solin, it's another currency that you get for playing the game, basically. Going through the PvE missions will get you Solin, and you'll be able to use that to upgrade, to go through those nightmare missions. But you can also use the Solin to recruit other heroes, like here. So you might have to meet some certain requirements to unlock the heroes, and then you can upgrade, you can unlock them with either C-Coin from the store, or with your Solin that you've got from playing once you've met the conditions. So remember, you can also purchase extra node pages, more stash space, you know, all this other stuff that you'd probably expect. And that's the short gist of how everything kind of goes there. And then, yeah, depending on where you want to go, what kind of stuff you really like to do, the PvE, the PvP, or both, you can go into the arena. There's a combat arena here for 3v3 and 5v5. And these are pretty short matches, and they're pretty fun, actually. I'll say they're not too long, they don't feel like they drag out. And even these Titan Ruins, this is the MOBA style sort of the game. So this is basically just like your typical combat arena that you'd expect. But Titan Ruins is the MOBA style part of the game. And that is going to take, I've got some video footage and some gameplay footage of that if you guys want to see that, to see how that goes. And to get the rules on that. And if you want, you can even throw in some bots, and you can play against some bots and stuff if you just want to practice. But it does have a time limit of 30 minutes before the game eventually does end, and whatever team has the highest score at the end of the 30 minutes wins. There's all kinds of, you know, currencies and stuff like that that'll be strange at first, you know, but once you guys realize what are they used for and what do they do to unlock, you know, it's really actually not, you know, it's not as confusing as I was thinking it might have been. So this is a very cool playable game, and this is still an alpha. They're still going to be adding, you know, more game modes, you know, and more different events and things for us to do, more different masters. And one also pretty cool thing here that they got is this jukebox. This is a jukebox, and it's got a whole bunch of songs in this thing, and you can get jukebox coins from like leveling up and completing your achievements. You can get these little jukebox coins, or you can purchase them from the shop, and you can basically just stick them in and you can play your songs, and you can just make everybody else have to listen to it. Or if you really hate these songs that the people play in the jukebox, you can turn off the music or just mute it or put on your other stuff. And yeah, if you want, you can queue up your own songs. Most of the time, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, you're probably gonna have to get used to hearing this song. You gotta upside down. Yeah. This song's gonna be playing a lot. It's very popular. So that's really what I've got to show you guys so far. I've got some gameplay footage of PvE and PvP. If you guys want to see that, I'll leave some links for that. But pretty cool game so far from what I've seen. The mechanics in it are more complicated for the PvE action MMO stuff. More complicated and difficult to figure out, you know, than some other games that I tried at first were. But because it actually is a little bit more complex and a little bit harder to, say, evade getting hit, and it's not just like you really want to run through everything and face tank it like in Diablo and basically just make it so nothing you can hit can kill you, and you just run through, just ping, 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 running everything over. Like this one, you want to stack damage for sure, but getting out of the way, dodging stuff and everything takes much more precise timing, and you also, because of the way some of the boss arena count, like fights and stuff, work out, you're in like a square grid layout, and their damage and their effects, their powers and stuff they're gonna be using geometry against you. And let's just say if you guys are good at geometry, just math, shapes, stuff like that, you're gonna have a slightly easier time with this. It's basically just going to be, sending your character through like, a trapezoid or a pentagon or something like that, sort of a movement to avoid being hit. And you'll notice these patterns fairly easily, some guys at first. But other times it's going to seem, if you guys are not so great at that stuff, it's going to seem like a nightmare. Like there's absolutely no way. How am I supposed to dodge these million balls flying around and these circles coming at me and massive ground telegraphs everywhere? There is a way to do it most of the time. So it's beatable, it's playable. I only actually got stuck on one PvE mission where I couldn't seem to get through, and it was seemed bugged. But as for like functionality, everything else seemed to be working quite nicely from what I saw. There was a few things that could probably use a bit of improvement, like the way some of the PvE mobs react. Like basically, you've got a couple of strong guys, and you can pull them away with range, and they're basically just going to sit there walking kind of slowly at you, and you can just shoot them down really easily. And then once they've gotten far enough away from the spot that they stand on normally, or where they were, they're going to kind of run back, or they're going to start to like get stuck in a corner or kind of bug them out. It's kind of easy to bug out the PvE mobs a little bit, or at least the melee ones don't quite seem to be they're not really smart, and they kind of get stuck on some dumb things, and it's easy to basically just pull them away and own them with range. But other than that, everything seemed pretty good. I think people are gonna have a pretty fun time playing this, and it's gonna be a challenge for people that want to try to be nightmare, end game PvE grinders. There's some challenges in there for you. There's gonna be dungeons and stuff in this as well. And yeah, this is my first thoughts and impressions so far. Pretty cool, guys. Pretty cool. And yeah, and the characters, they all do random cool stuff too. You press down Alt and hit 1, 2, or 3. They all have their own action emote abilities. So when the game comes out, guys, I believe it'll be free to play like the others from NSoft, so download it, try it, have fun. If you guys are in the test right now, the alpha test, coming up for the beta test, have fun, and I'll see you in there, guys. Alright, catch you later.